a cherry blossom falls. You watch it. It was on the branch a second ago. In a second, it will be on the path. Right now, it is in the air. This is Ma. The Japanese have a word for this. Not for the bloom, not for the fall, for the trembling space in between. The space where the thing is no longer what it was and not yet what it will be. For 1,000 years, the people of these islands have built a culture around that space. Their rooms, their music, their poems, their gardens, their silences, all of it shaped around the moment when something is becoming something else. The character itself is a kind of poem. Long before paper, long before printing, someone in ancient China carved a small character into bronze. 2 closed wooden gates, and between them, the moon shining through the crack. They gave it a name. When the character crossed the sea into Japan, the moon was eventually replaced by the sun, but the meaning held: a door, a light, a space in between. In the early 20th century, the Swedish sinologist Bernhard Karlgren translated the older form of the character with a single phrase. A door, he wrote, through the crevice of which the moonshine peeps in. That is the entire concept sitting inside the character, not the door, not the moonlight, the thing the moonlight does when it finds the gap. Japanese readers learned to pronounce this character Ma. In ordinary speech, it just means gap, interval, pause, the time between 2 trains, the space between 2 buildings, but Japan has spent 1,000 years quietly turning this ordinary word into something else. Ma became the word for what Japan started to notice between things, the small openings of the world where something is allowed to live that has no name in any other language. Step into a traditional Japanese room. A paper screen is glowing with afternoon light. A single flower in a clay vase rests against the wall. There is no furniture. There is space. You feel it before you can name it. The room is doing something to you. The room is holding its breath, and you start to hold yours. A Western room is decorated with objects. A Japanese room is composed around what is not there. In the tea ceremony, this becomes a discipline. The master places a single scroll on the wall, a single bowl on the mat, a single flower in the alcove. Everything else is removed. What remains is not minimalism, it is presence. The bowl is more beautiful because of the silence around it. The flower is more vivid because nothing else is asking for your attention. This is the first law of Ma. The empty is not the absence of something. The empty is what allows the thing to be seen. In the gardens of Kyoto, this becomes architecture. At the temple of Rionji, 15 stones sit in a sea of raked white gravel. The garden was built over 500 years ago. The gravel is raked each morning by a single monk. The pattern is the same. The stones have not moved. From every angle a visitor stands, only 14 are visible. One is always hidden. You can move along the wooden veranda for an hour. You can lean forward, you can lean back. The 15th stone never appears. The garden does not finish itself. It leaves something for the viewer to complete. That gap, that single missing stone, is also Ma. The garden is teaching you something by refusing to give it to you. Japanese culture decided very early that the most important part of any work of art is what the artist chose not to put there. The white space on the painting, the pause in the conversation, the held breath before the bow. You can hear Ma, too. A bronze bell is struck at a temple. The sound spreads. It fills the courtyard, the trees, the valley below. Then it begins to fade. You think it is gone. It is not gone. It is becoming smaller. It is hiding inside the air. If you listen carefully, the bell is still ringing somewhere in the silence after. This is what Japanese music is built around. The shakuhachi flute, played by wandering Zen monks for hundreds of years, is more silence than sound. Each note rises out of breath and falls back into it. The instrument was never trying to fill the room. It was trying to draw your attention to the room itself. In 1957, a young Japanese composer named True Takemitsu, sick with tuberculosis and not yet 30, wrote a piece for string orchestra called Requiem. He was gravely ill as he wrote it. The work carried his own awareness of dying inside its notes. A few years later, Igor Stravinsky was visiting Tokyo. Someone played the recording for him by accident. He He refused to let the tape end. His public praise of the young composer set Takemitsu on the path that would lead him to score nearly 100 films and write for orchestras across the world. But he spent his entire career chasing a single goal. He wanted, in his own words, to achieve a sound as intense as silence. In 1967, the New York Philharmonic commissioned him to write a piece. He composed November Steps for 2 ancient Japanese instruments and a full Western orchestra. The strings and the biwa and the shakuhachi alternated in the room. Only in rare moments did they touch. The piece ended with a long, single passage on the bamboo flute, and then a profound silence. The silences in Takemitsu's music are not pauses between events. They are the events. The notes are placed around them, the way the stones at Ryan-ji are placed around the absence of the 15th stone. This is Ma, in sound. If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe. I make slow videos about Japanese aesthetics and philosophy every week. Now come back to the falling petal. A blossom is on the branch. A second later, it is on the path. The Japanese have a famous phrase for the feeling of watching it fall. Mono no aware. The bittersweet awareness that everything beautiful is leaving. In the 18th century, the scholar Motori Norinaga was asked what the Japanese spirit was. He wrote that it was wild cherry blossoms glowing in the morning sun. The cherry blossom is not loved because it is beautiful. Other flowers are more beautiful. The cherry blossom is loved because it falls within a week of opening. But notice what Mono no aware is actually pointing at. Not the flower on the branch, not the petal on the ground, the space between the two. The moment when the petal is leaving one form of itself and has not yet arrived at the next. That moment is Ma. This is what Japan figured out 1,000 years before anyone else. The empty is the room where becoming happens. A bowl is most useful because of the emptiness inside it. A doorway is a doorway only because of the gap. A breath is a breath only because of the silence that follows. Without the empty, nothing in the world could become anything else. In the autumn of 1978, an architect from Tokyo named Arata Isazaki opened an exhibition at the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris. Inside, he had built almost nothing. A scroll of paper hung from a beam. A pause stretched through a sound recording. The shadow of a Buto dancer crossed a white wall and disappeared. Around 20 Japanese artists had contributed work, including Takemitsu himself and the fashion designer Issey Miyake. Western visitors walked through, slowly, confused. They had come expecting Japanese art. What they had walked into was a study of empty space. The exhibition was called MA, Space-Time in Japan. It traveled from Paris to New York, to Houston, to Chicago, to Stockholm, and Helsinki. It introduced an entire concept that did not yet have a translation. Look around. The minimalist design that defines the modern world borrowed its grammar from Ma. The clean white shelves of Muji. The white pauses in the work of Issey Miyake. The empty courtyards in the architecture of Terao Ando. Even the breathing space in the design of Steve Jobs' stores in California. You may not have known the name of the idea, but you have been living inside it your entire life. The empty was Japan's quiet gift to the world. Watch it again. A blossom is leaving the branch. It has not landed yet. For half a second it belongs to no one and nothing. It is becoming. The Japanese taught themselves to look at that half second and call it beautiful. They built a word for it. They built rooms around it, music around it, gardens around it, an entire civilization around it. The empty is where everything becomes something else. That is, Ma.